a scion of many worlds. His eyebrows go up in surprise to see the device that Sky brings in. It's clunkier than even the models made on Earth, but it's unmistakable. A communicator. Son of a bitch, they have one of these, he mutters, holding out his hand for the device. He holds the small depression on the side, and it activates and asks for a password. This model isn't the best security-wise, as it shows the number of letters required. Not that he needs to guess. The letter for the next head of the order had the password in it. He types in Lux Miru Lux, and it's accepted. There are several applications on it already. The mapping one has his eyebrows go up as the device projects a three-dimensional image of Lacron, two major continental masses, several strains of archipelago that are a few thousand, if not millions of years away from crunching together to form a few mini-continents. Is that the world? Star asks in shock. It is. This device is a communicator. It has other nicknames and uses, but its first purpose is to facilitate communication. This one has the basic communication, but it has something that it's in control of, or several somethings, and there is also this map and an archive in it. Now, the question about this map it's showing is if it's somehow in real time. Real time. If the map is being updated as we look at it, he says, poking at the general place of the Aridus Valley. It zooms in, and he pokes again and again to zoom in further and further. Fuck me. We've got satellites in orbit, he mutters as he sees the city of tents and makeshift cabins in the valley. Why? What's wrong? Those tents were set up several days ago. This map is not only recent, but very recent. Yet there's dust on this device, meaning it's being updated even when sealed away. There is something high above us, watching from above. The raging cunts have tech from your age of miracles, and instead of trying to make more of it so that everyone can prosper, they hoarded it to themselves. He explains as his hand shakes and he struggles to not crush the communicator in reflex. He's trilling again, but low and even. He takes a deep breath, holds it for a 10 count, and then lets it go, calm again. He brushes at the map and it dissolves to the next highest magnification. He presses on the screen slightly and exits out of the map app entirely. He checks the archive. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of entries. The latest is titled 1679, the current year since the crash landing of the colony ship. He pokes it. It's an audio recording. The training of the Empress has proceeded exceptionally well. She leaves the temple for the final time this day, only to re-enter for official duties. She is certain of her divinity and believes herself above mortal concerns. She's willing to listen if appropriately flattered, and looks every bit the goddess come to this sinful world. She will be the perfect rallying point and figurehead behind the reunification of the Empire. With Sister Lightbringer subverting things in the filthy land of Greenstone, we have an excellent chance of having a reunited empire again. After that, we can begin our plans to bring the whole of Lacron under our divine light. He pauses the playback and spares a moment to pat the very pale and very scared-looking Star on the shoulder. "Are you all right?" She shakes her head in response. "Anything I can do to help?" "No, I see. Anyways, this device is effectively a smoking gun and proof positive of my accusations." "Did you know?" Star asks, and he pauses. "I was just throwing out accusation after accusation at first, attacking their credibility. I didn't expect to be so right. I expected to be righteous, but not right. Hell, the assassins in the throne room were aiming for me, but I cast aspersions and really blackened the bitches. But this is somehow worse. If you have the power to save a life without risking your own and actively choose not to, then you've good as killed them yourself." "Really?" "Well, yes and no. Things are complicated when saving lives comes in. Generally you should if you can, but if you're just going to make it so that someone else needs to rescue two people instead, then you really, really shouldn't. And that can be hard to judge," he admits. No, I mean the accusations. That you didn't know about it all and were just throwing out nonsense that's now somehow true. Mostly, I was throwing suspicion around, pinning the blame of numerous terrible things on someone that seemed in charge to make me more righteous. It could have all just been tragic accidents and misunderstandings, but it's looking less and less likely, he says before dispelling the archive app. I'll have the whole city listen to the archives along with me. We won't get anything better for an admission of guilt than these. I suppose not, Star notes as she sniffs a bit, the last of her world crashing on her. The brave face she showed earlier finally starting to crack. Sky gives her a hug and they just start to hold each other for comfort. The treachery of the higher-ups clearly hitting very hard. The control app is interesting, but something to look into a little later. Jasper says to try and distract them. Right now, I'm wondering if someone is perhaps listening in. The second statement was directed to the communicator as he had noticed that the communication app was defaulting to on without notification. A clever little ruse that would be childishly simple to pull off. And if someone had little idea what communicators were like, then they would assume off was on and on was off, effectively allowing someone to listen in whenever and make them think that they had no one to talk to. Something that would only work if the device was held in some reverence and no one spent time to actually fiddle with it until they figured it out. What do you mean? Sky asks, and he grins. I think my mother, Morgana Skitterway, is listening in, he says, and there's a tiny sound, not even something he can hear, but there's a distinct distortion in the electromagnetic waves around the device to show that it picked up something. Your mother? You're tied to all this? In a very roundabout way. I am both her second-born son and her firstborn reborn simultaneously. However, she didn't expect me to actually live rather than be an eternally sleeping monument to... Shut up! Dr. Skitterway bellows from the other side. Hello, Mother, Jasper remarks blandly. How's your health? Stop calling me Mother. Genetically you are. Shut up. Furthermore, you brought me into existence when you took a copy of my brother's mind and placed it in the eternally sleeping corpse of your son's clone. You've had a hand in... She canceled the call. For a scientist and scholar that has been learning and expanding their knowledge for longer than most cultures on Lakran have lived, she's very much not in control of herself, Jasper notes. What was that? Star asks, as she finishes drying her eyes. Girl's tough. She's not in a survival state and she's still bouncing back at incredible speed. She'll make it fine. My mother, sort of. It's complicated. Can you explain it simply? Sky asks, and he considers. Long ago, she had a son. Her first child was a son. That is rare. Unusually rare. So she thought herself lucky. She's a cautious type, so she created a blank slate clone. Think of it like a second body that never wakes up unless needed. Basically, if her son got hurt, there was a double of everything from arms and legs to stomach and heart. Then there was a tragic accident and her son, Emmanuel Skitterway, died. There was no recovering from it. That's horrible, but that doesn't explain everything. I don't know everything. Sometime much later, after keeping the clone body alive and unaging for some reason, she places a copy of my brother Horace's mind into the clone and launches it in a pod to Lakran. That's how I was born. A copy of a dead man with the mind of a living one. All I know is that she gets really, really upset when I call her mother, and she's clearly been watching Lakran. She's likely watching even now, but, well, I don't know. What do you think? Sky asks, and he just shrugs. Could be anything. It's why I'm telling anyone who asks about it. Maybe someone will have a bright idea about what the hell is going on. Jasper admits before chuckling. I'm afraid I'm better at inspiring speeches, tactics, and fighting than I am at philosophizing or trying to probe the recesses of a living mind, Jasper admits before poking at the final function of the device. It quickly gives him an up-to-date readout of something called a scurry. It's in good shape, but apparently buried under a lot of rock and stone. Its teleportation beacon is working fine, and hello, there are apparently people in it in the midst of regenerative comas. From the looks of this, I have about a day and a half before I need to get to them, so this is something for later. Jasper muses out loud as he reads things out. 4 people are growing younger and stronger as we speak. However, I'm not seeing any headbands. Were there any deaths in the order lately? Several elders retired last week. They claimed that training the Empress was their final service to the order and would now retire in peace. Star says, and he nods. Well, now we know where they are. What are they doing? They're growing younger. This is one of the things lost from the Age of Miracles. Again, it's another thing they could have shared with others. Effectively, everyone who's died of old age is their fault. What? Sky demands in a shocked tone. It's one of the things lost from the Age of Miracles, healing comas. The ability to restore yourself from every injury in the span of a week by simply sleeping with the axiom around you buoying you up. However, I'm not seeing the mind retention bands, which means that these sleeping elders are losing their minds and memories as we speak. Jasper explains, and both girls stare at him. One job finishes and another 15 arise. He then starts gathering up all the papers and files and places them on the desk. Come on, you two. I have a few announcements to make, and then some scholars from the Star Seekers will be combing through all this mess. Grab your wine. We're teleporting down rather than squeezing through that stairwell again. But it's a nice stairwell. Star mocks him and he snorts. All the nicer for the gouges I've no doubt carved into the stone of the building. It's going to be hard enough to preserve any part of this place without wrecking it myself. Why are you so set on keeping this place in one piece? First off, the building itself did nothing wrong. It's a perfectly serviceable building. We can easily remake it into a school or a hospital or even a shelter for the downtrodden. Secondly, as the communicator and the secret passages and chambers have proven, it has secrets. It's best we find them and see if they're of use. Finally, he's cut off by a crashing noise and screams of rage. Finally, it's an offer of peace to those that believed in the Luxway but weren't in on any conspiracy. He finishes before tucking away the communicator and then puts his hands on his shoulders. Let's get downstairs. He teleports all 3 of them into the main sanctuary some meters off the floor and gently flutters down, careful to avoid the growing crowd. He turns just in time to catch one of the heads of the order being bonked on the top of the head for spitting at him. Did you have any trouble, my dear? Jasper asks Magrica, who shrugs. They're pretty quick with the light, but that trick you taught me for dealing with light users worked well. Not much point to blinding me if I'm not using my eyes to find you. Magrica remarks with a grin. Yeah, there's not much stopping a Metak when she wants blood. You girls are too quick and too strong to really stay in the way of. Jasper notes, and she preens a little. Not to mention disarming you even in the most literal of senses only pisses you girls off. I got an armless auntie and everything. She's scary sometimes, Magrica adds. Well, yay. Compared to having your arms ripped out, nothing really hurts anymore, Jasper concedes. Now then, as for you ladies, I think we have to have a little bit of a chat. The looks that he's getting from the captured heads of the Luxway go from hateful to shocked when he pulls out the communicator. One in particular gets his attention. Ah, so you're the one who's been adding to this. Unfortunately for you, I know exactly what it is and what it's capable of.